And when we write music, it is healing, and it is related to what we're going through in life in the moment.
That's beautiful to me because you guys also are brother and sister, so you have the history together, the childhood that you can both bring back, you know, and also have different perspectives on what happened, because regardless of what you guys went through as children, or, you know, good, bad, whatever, you both will still have a different perspective. It could be very similar, but that's something that I've literally, it's been blowing my mind the past year, is like, you could be having the same conversation, like right now we are having this conversation, and when you guys leave, you're gonna have a different experience than what I had, you know?
That's true, yeah.
So, I don't know, that also gave me chills. But that's awesome that you guys have the history, but then you also have adult life experiences to add separately, you know, as a woman, as a man, but also in touch with each other, and Kama Sutra, whatever. No, I'm just kidding.
Also want to recognize that our childhood wasn't all bad. I mean, there was traumas, but we had wonderful siblings who were had to step up, play the mother and father roles for us. So I always tell people I was raised by 4 females. I even considered Debbie in that process, because and now that's helped me like be in tune with like my own feelings and know how to express them.
And that's so important, because I feel like a lot of people, I'll just say people in general, have a difficult time expressing themselves. Like, I'm still learning how to express myself properly and like you know, what is properly, but in a healthy way, I guess. And how that's leading, I'm glad you touched on that you guys, that's kind of how your process is. How do you guys balance like work life, because you both are professionals, completely different fields from what I know. How does that come into play? Like, how do you know where to balance, okay, it's time for practice, like, is that very structured, or do you guys just, like you said, it's emotional, so is it how you're feeling? And then how do you guys balance personal relationships with other people, like significant others, dating, marriages, you know, whatever the case is?
I would say when DNA came about, it was at a moment, it was in 2017, and it was at a moment that we just didn't expect for whatever happened in our lives to happen, and it brought us closer together, and we started writing because we needed to heal. And it was interesting because we wrote a song called Lumbre, and our friend Tatiana,
one of my favorite songs, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, our friend Tatiana, although unexpectedly, you know, she really liked the song, and she kept really encouraging us to go out there and like just perform for people, and that we should do it.
Shout out to her, because without her, apparently this wouldn't have happened. So
no, I mean, we probably would have just kept playing and writing songs, but she really inspired us to go out there and perform. So we did. So we started doing that, and thanks to you know, the lab, and you know, when you put on the first event we performed at, Daughters of the Culture, with the Gutted Cigar.
Yeah, awesome. Shout out to them. They inspire me like no other. They're awesome. So, the lab too. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the projects and community work and everything. Yeah. So we didn't have to, but we pushed ourselves to get out there as DNA, and we do have professional lives, and one of the biggest challenges is that I have a traveling job. So I love that, by the way. That's awesome.
I do love it. It is challenging because obviously it takes me away from my husband and my family and my friends.
And then practice, I'm sure.
Yeah. And sometimes I can't take my gear with me to go write songs because it's just, I don't want to.
Come on.
I'll write ideas and then I send it over to Alex.
Okay.
And he like, the way that our style is I'll come up with an idea, and then I'll write lyrics and melody and everything, and I'll send it over to Alex, and then next thing you know,
structure, like
not semi-structured, semi-structured. Sometimes it'll be like, look, this is the idea. It might be the first, you know, part of the song or the intro, or this might be the, you know, the chorus or whatever. And so I'll send it over to Alex, and sometimes in those song ideas,
girl wants to say hi to you.
It'll turn into like a whole different song, because Alex is when he's putting in his idea and the idea I originally had, it just transforms into a whole different song.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because we kind of joke about it, because I'll send him an idea and then he'll be like, "So this is what I kind of kept from your idea," and then it's just like a whole different song.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
In other ways, yeah.
Yeah, but it's good because he like, it wouldn't, if I didn't come up with the idea, then maybe we wouldn't have ignited like the new song idea.
Right.
You know? So it all works out.
Part of the
end.
process, basically.
Yeah.
And it's not always just her ideas or my ideas.
Right.
It's always sometimes it's just a jam session.
Mm-hmm. See, that's another thing that I wish I like jammed. I mean, I'm trying to play keys and stuff, but I just think we need to bring back like a bunch of musicians, I can't speak, in the same room and just like record it and let whatever happens happen.
Yeah.
And I would love to set something like that up and invite whoever wants to come be a part of it, different instruments. Like, would you guys be down? That would be freaking awesome. I don't know what I'd contribute, but that would be awesome.
Yeah. That's actually
the conductor. Good job, guys.
That is our writing process, actually.
That's awesome.
Like, so we send ideas because I have to travel and all that, and we have busy schedules. But when we aren't in that mode, and when we have opportunity to jam out together, that's basically how we write songs. Is like, we'll spend hours jamming out, and then because we have a good connection musically, we always manage to like create something.
So you guys probably are kind of like twins. You're not twins, obviously, but in the sense where you guys grew up in the same room, you guys had the same family, obviously. So you guys were probably always like on the same wavelength. So that's probably makes the process a little bit easier for you guys.
There's a lot of trust and respect.
Exactly.
And honor. It's like, I would never tell her what to do. I just give her what I have, and then I just trust her to do well. And it always happens.
Yeah. That's awesome.
My favorite part is when she does her solo at the end of Loom. Like, that's my favorite part of any set we do, because she just leaves that synthesizer aside and performs, and then all of a sudden she's on that.
Too. Yeah, I do this too.
Awesome.
So
it's
is there
really
any
fun.
hopes of both of you like singing on a track soon? Are we gonna get your voice on there too?
Yeah, I can harmonize with her. I
love harmony.
I thought of adding harmony to Lumbre, but right now, because I'm not naturally a keyboardist, I just kind of it's what I had lying around at the time, because I told you, remember, pawned off all my stuff. Yeah. So I kind of just challenged myself to, instead of going back to my comfort zone, let me just absorb and embrace this instrument and see what I could do, and just keep it very simple. Because if you're not a keyboardist, if you're not a master of the keys, then it doesn't have to be Beethoven or those other guys. It could just be you. Right. I'm just gonna be myself in this equipment, and that's what I try to portray and emote when I perform. It's just me, It's not. Awesome. Sometimes it's complex. Sometimes it's simple. Sometimes I don't play. You have, as a musician, artist, you have to know when to.
That's a communication stage, like definitely feeling it out, because I mean, mistakes too get made, I'm sure. So it's kind of like you have to pick up, like, got to be able to read the other person, definitely.
When there is a mistake, I pick up on it and I just fill in, or so vice versa. It happens, but.
So how do you kind of balance your personal and work life? Because I don't know if we're able to talk about your teacher, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I won't put anyone on blast.
So, about a year and a half ago, I got divorced, unfortunately. So that kind of spawned everything, like the DNA thing. But I basically, once that happened, I found myself with kind of back at ground zero, and with a lot of free time on my hands, and luckily God has blessed me with a decent career, with a decent salary, and I was able to get into my own apartment and then just embrace music again. Because remember, when I was married, it wasn't in my head anymore.
It wasn't a priority.
I would write a song or two, like, we have a couple songs that were from that era, but overall it was like, whoa, now I can really get back into it now. Yeah. So I embraced it, and I used, like she said, and I used it to heal, and I used it to, I mean, there were times when we would write that song and try to rehearse it, and we either she or myself would break down, and then we'd have to start over, because that's how it was, it was real.
That's kind of beautiful.
It is. Like, it was necessary.
Kind of, it is beautiful, but that's See, I don't hear that very often from artists. That's something that I'm sure they do, you know, in their own privacy of their own rooms or by themselves when they're writing. But that's beautiful to me that you guys are able to do that together.
And like you said, it's like we're not twins, but like we have this bond.
What do you call that? Like, what do you call that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Though? Yeah. Okay.
So she's able to, like she said in the previous interview, she said she's able to step into other people's shoes and like, and she knows me so well that she's able to do that. And like she hits like certain parts.
Kind of speak.
It just hits my heart, you know. It's
through
like,
you.
wow.
I feel that musicians in particular, not that they're possessed. I don't want to say possessed because that sounds creepy.
Nope.
But that it literally is like a higher power energy coming through you guys. Like, are there times where you're performing and you're like, you don't even realize what's coming out? Because I watch people and there's sometimes where I see it happening, you know, and I don't know if it's just me, but I know that's what they're experiencing because I could just tell. Like, I feel like I can literally see when it's no longer them, like whether it's their eyes or it's just like, there's no way, it's not that it's not human, but it's kind of like unreal. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that we're all source energy, and so there's been many times when we'll be making music and I feel like I am in someone else's shoes, or that I can feel their emotion, and then I write lyrics based off of that. And there's a painting I did of Alex playing the guitar, and there's little hands all over his body and all over the picture, because I remember in that jam out session, it was like there was something in the room with us. And I know that sounds like, what the heck?
No, I totally believe it.
But there was something or a couple of things in the room with us, you know, that spiritually it just was so much that I had to paint it out. And so I do agree that, you know, when we're performing music, writing, it's not just coming from ourselves. It's coming from another, you know, form of energy that maybe we're attracting at that time.
Also our history and all our ancestors. My mom always says, "Oh, you have relatives in Mexico that play music," so it all makes sense. Yeah,
like, I feel like I was cutting you off.
Most of our family's in Mexico, so we don't really like have that bond. But it's just cool to know that you can feel like you're adding to the history. You're just following the legacy tradition. But also, I want to say it's refreshing to hear you say that it is spiritual, because I try to explain it to people that don't perform or that just don't write music, and which is fine. Obviously, everyone has their thing, but it really is for me something that that speaks to my whole soul. Like I tell Diz all the time, when we perform, I'm trying to like engineer an entire experience for the audience. It's not just each track is selected to be the first, second, and third, fourth, fifth.
To me, I think it's pretty cinematic. Like it takes you through like a journey. The sounds you guys choose, the just the feel in general, like the voice on it too, like that. It just gives you a whole feel. So I totally get it, and it's happening. You're doing it. In particular, whether famous or not or local, that you guys would want to collaborate with?
Yes.
Name them, shout them out, manifest it here.
Zach de la Rocha is my #1 dream collab of all time. And I really, really feel like a connection with that man, because his whole energy, like, is like mine. That's how I learned how to be a performer, from him.
That's awesome. His
energy was it's just something that stays with me. And even after that his band broke up, and I always check up on him. You know, I always like look him up here from time to time.
Do you ever like DM him or?
No, he's not on social media like that. So that's the thing about him that I like. That.
What about you?
Well, on occasion, we actually jam out with Tipsy and Full Blown Apes.
Okay.
So you could find him on Instagram. But we've probably jammed out with them like 4 times or something. And it would be great to create something there with them. Okay. And I've always wanted to put Jaylyn on one of the songs that we...
Shout out Jaylyn.
Yeah, shout out Jaylyn. There's this song that Alex wrote a long time ago that I just feel like that's meant for her to be on. And, of course, I would love to have multiple singers. So you know,
shout
out. Shout out you, because I like to harmonize.
I love to harmonize.
Yeah.
I feel like I felt like kind of when I really connected to what you were saying, like you never felt like you could do it on your own. I always think I'd be a great backup singer, so I got you. I think that's so important. Yeah, when opportunities come, and if it's timing is everything, I feel, and so if it was the right time for you guys now, then there was a reason, you know, and I think there's a lot of good things in the future for you guys, and
thank you.
Definitely get them on a show, guys. Like,
yes,
they're awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to thank you guys for coming out and being on the Creators Weekly. We're